Yo, this is Bench Gamer here. So in the recent patch for Genshin Impact 4.7, I mean 4.6, they finally added the inaccessible area to the north of Sumeru, and this has been the subject of some contention from what I've read on Reddit. And this is because of the fact that there is really nothing there, and the landmass that they added is actually rather sizable. So when you say it out loud like this, it doesn't sound that weird for there to be like this landmass in an open world game that doesn't really have anything there, because obviously you need some filler space. Not every single place in the world in an open world game can have stuff going on there. But Genshin Impact has always had a very formulaic way of doing things, that you always have a chest over there, and then you have a challenge over there, and then you have things to kill over there to get the mats that you need to level stuff up. So it's not like the most amount of work to put that stuff there in the first place. And you can really see this on the Hoyo Labs maps tool, where you can see all of the pins for all of the different challenges and chests and all that stuff. And practically every single piece of landmass that you can traverse in the open world has this stuff, except for this area in the north of Sumeru. And this is much rarer than you would think, because when they added landmasses, such as Chasm and Sumeru, they actually added more chests in between those places and the places that they connect with. So in between Sumeru and Liyue and the Chasm and Old Liyue, they actually added some chests that you might not have noticed, but I did. It's not like I could count them, but they added like maybe a 5, 6, 7, 8 chests in between those places so that they don't feel just empty dead man's land. And that is essentially what this new place is in the north of Sumeru. And it looks really conspicuous because it's extremely large. It's like half the size of Mondstadt. And I think a lot of the backlash, I wouldn't necessarily call it backlash, it's just some people complaining on the internet, but it does feel kind of weird to have just this like gigantic landmass on the map of Teyvat that has nothing there when practically every single other place does. And I think this is for two reasons. One, this patch is not about the north of Sumeru. Obviously, this patch is about the Remuria, the place in the middle of the inland sea that you can go to. I assume it's about Remuria. I can't pronounce it, Remuria, but I haven't actually done the world quest, so I'm not completely sure. But from what I have heard, it is about Remuria, and it's extremely good. So it's not like they didn't add anything to this patch. It's not like this is the biggest deal of all time. It's just that when they added Remuria, they also added this northern place in Sumeru. And the problem is that when Sumeru initially came out in 3.0, we got all of the we got in the entire forest part of the map in one patch. And every single patch after that was just desert, 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 desert. And a lot of people got burnt out on Genshin Impact's exploration during that time because we just don't like seeing the same thing all the time, right? One desert patch is okay, two desert patches is kind of okay as well, but then three desert patches in a row, that's maybe a bit too much. And so a lot of people were suspecting that they were saving up another patch for Sumeru at some point, and that this would either be in the south of Sumeru or the north of Sumeru. And now that we have the north of Sumeru added, it doesn't seem like that's the case. In fact, it seems like it's the most like this is the place in all of the open world that has the least amount of content so far. And unlike the places in between Liyue and Sumeru, they don't seem to have added all that much there. There is one waypoint that you can go to called Beta Port, and there's some NPCs there that you can talk to. So it's not like there's absolutely nothing there. But then you go to the west of that, and then it's just literally nothing. There's nothing to pick. There's no mint to pick. There's no chest to pick up. There's nothing to kill. Uh, there's maybe like I think there's maybe one chest on top of a mountain or something. But the entire desert area to the east of the desert that we had before this patch is just there's nothing there. And personally, I'm okay with that. I don't think every single place in Teyvat needs to have all of this usual stuff that we have. Like, there's nothing incentivizing you to go to this place either. The only way you would ever go there is because, you just happen to walk there and you want to go in one direction. There's no quest there that you would have to do. So it's not that immersion breaking, but I do think that this is kind of a worrying trend because along with this new filler area is a lot of optimization they have done to make the game size a lot smaller. I believe for PC it's now 20 gigabytes smaller, and for mobile it's maybe like 30 or 40 gigabytes smaller. So the way they did this was to have more aggressive culling of objects in the distance. There are some comparisons that you can see on the internet if you just go search for them. And another thing that they did was that they actually simplified some of the existing land masses, right? So if you look at north of Vanarana, there used to be waterfalls there, And now there's not. There used to be two waterfalls in the Mount of North Vanarana. Yeah, I'm looking at the comparison video right here, right now. And there used to be multiple waterfalls actually. And now there's no waterfalls. There were like four waterfalls. Holy shit. And there's just nothing there now. There's a lake, but I assume they cut this out because it's just too graphically intensive. They want to flatten the area a bit for the places that are not that important to the overall theme of the world, I guess. Sumeru has done. And it just feels kind of unimmersive. And besides that, the way that we go to Remuria, the island that we go to Remuria from, is also super uninteresting. It's not immersive. They just give you a waypoint. And I was worried about this when they first announced that we would be able to go to Fontaine directly at the start of the game without actually having to do Sumeru's quest first. And this is because they just give you a waypoint that you can teleport to Fontaine directly from Mondstadt once you've done the first part of story. And I think that was okay in concept, but my fear was that they would rely on this type of teleport traversal more and more over the course of time. And that seems to have happened with Remuria. Before in the past, when we went to like another map or something like the chasm, we had to actually like physically walk there. And when we went to Enkanomiya, we had to do an entire quest in Wadatsumi to go there. And now for Remuria, it's just this place in the middle of the inland sea that is kind of like separate from the entire rest of the world, which is fine. It's an island, right? But you have to give us an idea that's an island by letting us actually, swim there or go there on a boat. Why do we have a boat if we don't use the boat? Well, what is the point of that mechanic if we don't use that mechanic? It's like, what's the point? It feels like they're moving in a direction that is making the world a bit less immersive, in my opinion. It's not just the fact that there's nothing in the north of Sumeru. It's not just that we were expecting some sort of forest expansion at some point and we didn't get it. It's that the whole world of Teyvat feels like it's being trivialized a bit, and I don't like that feeling. Because one of the core concepts of Genshin Impact is that we have this persistent open world, right? That it is immersive, that it feels like it's a real place. And slowly, bit by bit, it feels like that is becoming less the case. And I think that is important to point out because there are very few things about Genshin Impact that is keeping older players around. One of them is the fact that this game is very beautiful, that it has an immersive world, that it has deep lore. And if you cheapen that, then my fear is that it's going to become less important. There's going to be less reasons to stick around, right? So I don't think in a vacuum, this northern part of Sumeru that has nothing is that big of a deal. I went there. I thought it was fine from a geological standpoint. It looks like it's on par with original Mondstadt, which is not like the most beautiful, most like perfect place of all time in terms of design, but it's serviceable. It had the atmosphere of the beginning place that you go to in every single open world game. So it was fine. It's just that there's nothing there. And that's basically it. I hope that in the future they reconsider how they do the open world. And please stop using these new waypoints. I want to actually traverse the world. One of the reasons why I got burnt out in Genshin Impact in the first place is that I realized that when I was doing the open world traversal, I would literally just go to every single waypoint and get all of the waypoints so I could teleport to them without actually having to look at the world. And one of the things I realized as I started a new account was that it was actually fun to traverse the world because I didn't have all these overpowered units that could just reach every place instantaneously. I didn't have a wanderer to like teleport me up to the side of a cliff. I didn't have Yelan to just run around all over the place. And the fact that I couldn't do that all the time actually made me appreciate the world more. It made me look at the world more. And the fact that I couldn't just teleport to every single new point and wait for the new patch so that I could just get all the waypoints again and then teleport to those waypoints. It made the world more fun. It made the world feel more real. I really do hope that they do more to make the traversal of the world more interesting. This was one of my complaints that I didn't really talk about, which is that traversal of Genshin Impact's world has become less interesting for the previous reasons I mentioned, the overpowered units that you eventually get if you do target those characters. I didn't even really target those characters. I just thought Wanderers looked cool. But eventually, I did get enough characters that I could trivialize the open world traversal, and now they've trivialized it even more with these teleport points. And now they have these areas, these dead areas that you're not really supposed to go to, even. So it makes the concept of walking in one direction and finding new things to do even less viable. And that is one of the attractions of the game. There are rumors that we're going to get mounts in Natlan. So if that is going to be the case, then holy shit. I don't know how they're going to do that and make the world traversal interesting. I'm assuming they're just going to make the map way bigger with less waypoints in between. Honestly, I would love to see an entire like map expansion that does not have waypoints. Like you have to use your own waypoints. Remember those times when we put those teleport waypoints on bosses and then we would teleport them to them because they were hard to get to when it comes to like actual farming stuff. Now they just put the waypoints right beside the bosses, so there's no point anymore. So it's just one more trivialization of an old mechanic. And now you don't have to farm for the waypoints anymore. I haven't done that since maybe the beginning of the game when I was farming those geocubes. Anyways, this is Ben Screamer signing out. I will see you guys sometimes. Bye bye.